Hello, everybody. I'm Mandi Rae of Static Astrology here with Krista of Practical Astros for your March 2026 forecast. I'm excited.
Me too.
Yeah, I feel like March moves the needle, a
And
little
the
further,
dial, and it
and the
moves everything.
dial. Yeah, yeah.
Movement,
The
that's the
record's
key.
playing. Thank goodness, because February was pretty crazy. And we're
Hmm.
recording this February 25th at 12:20 p.m. So we're still in February,
Hmm.
but Mercury is going retrograde this evening while we're right there
At the
at that
station, yeah.
point at the station. Yeah. So it goes retrograde at 22 degrees. And what March has in store for us is more Mercury retrograde.
Yeah.
Oh man. In Pisces, I feel like almost that's gonna color the beginning of March. Just because we're already in this really weird, foggy kind of alternate reality, I feel like, with
Hmm.
life. And Mercury retrograde in Pisces, I think, is just going to keep that energy up. I don't know. Let's see.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that we say when we're recording it so that we can like kind of speak to our future selves.
Yes,
Because it does feel a
exactly.
little
Like,
bit about like time, like message through time, like between because we're right in the middle of the eclipse window too. The eclipse was on the 17th of February. The next one's going to come up on Tuesday, the 3rd, which is the second transit that we'll talk about. But when you're in this kind of like liminal space, it is kind of like fluid and murky, and it's a movement, but because there's so much movement, everything's churned up, so you can't really see. It's like if you've ever been
mm,
snorkeling in the ocean, you don't want to snorkel when there's like been a storm because all the detritus from the bottom of the ocean comes up and you can't see any of the fish. That's kind of how it is. Like we're all swimming around, like looking at everybody's stuff that is being agitated during this eclipse. And with March, there's plenty of stuff going on, and there is the retrograde, but there's something about the movement of March that I think will help us find some clarity of like what is actually going on, the direction that those things are going towards. What do these stories mean? It's just like some clarity, but not clarity from stillness, but clarity from, well, that's clearly the direction that this whole epic tale is heading towards. So at least I know that.
exactly. And with the fact that the eclipses have been in Pisces, Virgo, and we're going to
Hmm.
have one here at the beginning of March, it does feel like, and we sort of discussed this off camera about how I like to look at Mercury retrograde as a change in circumstance sometimes. And I think as murky and muddy as it is, the whole period of this Mercury retrograde with everything else going on might actually be the thing that helps clear things up for us. It helps us to see, oh, the circumstances are turning, So
Yeah.
uh, but to kick it off, March 2nd, Mars enters Pisces.
Yeah.
So I look forward to that. That's my partner's Mars. So he's got Mars, Venus, and Sun in Pisces. So Mars in Pisces is such a it's a bubblegum, kind of
Yeah. I
fun
like that emoji.
energy. I do too. I was like, ooh, that's perfect for Mars and Pisces because it is kind of like a do 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 energy,
Hmm.
like Mars just kind of bebops along in Pisces. It's a water sign. It's not necessarily where Mars can take such direct action, I don't think, It's yeah, what do
Yeah,
you
but
think about Mars and Pisces?
well, when I think about Mars, just anyway, because we both have personal relations to Mars, because you're Scorpio Sun, I'm Scorpio rising. We think of Mars as the planet that rules Aries and Scorpio, but Mars is also the malefic of the night sect. So we look at Scorpio as being more of the night sect sign as opposed to Aries of the day sect, because it's a fire sign, it's expressive. Mars is that receptive malefic. So I think diving deep in the emotional waters, I think Mars has place in Pisces. It may not rule it, but it has that relationship of being able to be direct and maybe an emotional way of maybe touching some emotional nerves a little bit easier than other Marsies.
Mm,
There's something really potent about Mars and Pisces that on paper like the cover of the book of Mars Pisces, you might think one thing, but once you read it, be like, wow, actually Mars has a lot of agency. It's just more mysterious. It's more murky, but it has
Mm,
capability to be expressive. And I think also of Mars as being that defender, like fighting for things that matters and that matter to it. And Pisces has a lot of things that it cares about. And so being able to fight for the things that it cares about is kind of, yeah, maybe it's not like real flag wavy and like super articulate in expression, but it's still as powerful, and the things that it chooses to defend have real meaning. It's not fly by the seat of your pants sort of Mars action. It's I'm going to fight. I'm going to choose the battles very carefully because I care about the battles that I'm fighting for. And that's kind of how I
mm.
just describe Mars and Pisces, because it is kind of like, what does that mean? It doesn't, they don't, the two of them don't seem to be partners right off the bat. But when you dig into it, which is kind of a Mars thing, to me, they really belong
Yeah.
together.
Yeah, I agree. And it's also, like you said, acting from a place of like intuition,
Mm-hmm.
it's more of that extrasensory perception action that we've got going
Yeah.
on with Mars and Pisces. So yeah, it's a good kickoff to March, I think. I like that Mars is leaving Aquarius, it's leaving a Saturn sign, and to that effect, Saturn and Neptune both being in Aries looks
Mm.
at Mars wherever Mars is at. So we may get more of that Neptunian kind of influence with Mars and Pisces, I think, whenever it leaves Aquarius at the beginning of the
Mm.
month. So expect things to get weirder. I would. I mean, just
Yeah.
in terms of reality, like, is this real life? There are things that I'm just like, I saw, this is a great example. The hockey team that won, there
Mm.
was a movie about hockey and about the Olympics in, I want to say, the 80s. And I can't even remember what the name of the movie was. But in that movie, they cut from the team a John Hughes or Jack Hughes, whatever, the guy who's now in this specific gold medal winning team
Uh-huh.
this many years later, 25 or 30 years later, is like Jack Hughes or something.
Huh.
It's insane. It's weird.
Wow.
I know. And
It's
it's like
time travel.
almost, yeah, I mean, it's like someone, I think the stupid reel I was watching was like Jack Hughes got cut so Jack Hughes could run in the future, or whatever it was. But it's just those things. You're just like, God, how is this real life?
Mm.
It's like all of those other weird little things that we're getting nods to movies in the past that seem to predict the future, and it really it makes you question, what reality is, and these theories like what we do in the present affects the past. All of
Mm-hmm.
these weird time travel things. I expect March to kind of kick that up a notch almost.
Hmm. Yeah, it's funny. I've had this conversation multiple times recently, including today, about how we can use the words that we tell, the stories that we tell ourselves, and the words that we use in describing stories that we've already experienced, the way that we view it within the context that we live now, it can change the past because it can change our perspective of what happened. And the
Mm.
example I gave was like, if you read Harry Potter, the character Snape has a very particular trajectory. Like you're kind of taught to hate Snape the whole time. And spoiler, if you have not read this, Snape ends up, all those actions end up being a way that he protected the character Harry Potter from like pure evil. And so when you have that context of like the bigger story, you can look back on all those instances with Snape and be like, my relationship to that past story has changed because now I have more information. And so
Mm.
with Mars and Pisces, because Pisces is like a sentimental, nostalgic sign, this is where Venus exalts. And so there is a lot of reflection. It's the last sign in the zodiac. So there's this reflection piece to Pisces. And Mars going in there, Mars energizes and inspires and motivates as much as it can in a Jupiterian sign. It will energize those areas of life. And I wonder if it will help kind of like make things weirder, like you say, like be in that place of nostalgia and maybe rewriting some of the stories that we tell by time traveling to our past and defending that version of ourselves or defending like our inner child. And like I wonder if it does kind of come through in that strange undulating, murky water sort of a way. I like that it's happening right before the full moon in Virgo because an eclipse. So Mars will be co-present with the sun during that eclipse point. And so I think the eclipse will also speak to this Mars in Pisces ingress because it's happening like the next day.
Yeah. And when you were saying that, the reflection part of that, to me, it's like very, very present, that specific thing, the reflection, the looking back at our past with the lunar eclipse.
Mm-hmm.
It's in Virgo, but the funniest part is the ruler of Virgo, Mercury, is retrograde. So reflection,
Mm-hmm.
rethinking, all of that comes up in a major way. And I do think, with Mars kicking into Pisces and then boom, lunar eclipse.
Yeah.
That's a good practice to have around that, maybe going back and looking through old photos and memories and things of that nature.
And the ruler of Pisces, Jupiter, is also retrograde. So it's like reflection upon reflection upon reflection. I've been going through and cleaning out a lot of stuff. And when you do that, you find things that one you did not know that you still had, or you just you uncover or remember like good ideas that you started. So it's like reflection doesn't have to just be sitting and reflecting. It can just be this movement of going through old stuff. Like I found my Cabbage Patch doll clothes that I had when I was a kid. I was like, why do I still have this? But also it was just like precious to like hold and remember and like go back to remember having that awkward little zipper to, like being that little version of myself with that doll and putting on this actual clothes. It's like that is a reflection action. And so the eclipse and the Mars ingress with that retrograde Mercury, with the retrograde Jupiter, does just feel like it feels like an infinity mirror of reflection, but it doesn't have to be like sit and make time to write in your journal. It can be a movement of reflection. Even just if you live close to the house that you grew up in, even if it's within an hour away, like making the drive to go see that place or the places it used to visit, like make the effort and the movement, which is kind of a Mars thing, can be that piece of reflection. It doesn't have to just be sitting and writing in a journal in like a perfectly picturesque coffee shop with cats and rain and all that beautiful stuff that we imagine. We always can't have that, but you can create something just through the movement and the action.
Yeah.
I like this eclipse. I really like this eclipse.
I do too. I was just going to say it's a super emotional release. As if I just were to give it a title, it's an emotional release, lunar eclipse. I mean, lunar eclipses are anyway, because we're obscuring the moon's light, right? So the moon's light is obscured, which means we can almost have that emotional reset.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, there is a loose trine sextile to Jupiter in Cancer, also very emotional. I'm looking just to see what else is happening. I mean, there's such
Venus
a huge
and
pile
Uranus. Yeah, Venus and Uranus are in that sextile. I mean, having all that stuff in Pisces is just a lot of watery pools.
Yeah. It's almost like Jupiter and Mercury are ruling the roost around this eclipse,
Mm-hmm.
So especially because they're going to come back into a trine at some point. But I do think, one of the things we did when we did our eclipse workshop for the Virgo Pisces axis was the Virgo part was, what do you not want to worry about anymore, And I think that's something that we could, maybe mull over, what can we sort of let go of as, I mean, at least personally, that's important to me for this eclipse, I think.
Yeah. So you could look at your Virgo chart or your Virgo house in your chart and just kind of come with themes. Like Virgo is my 11th house. So it's, kind of that collective space, working. I do a lot of collaborative work with other astrologers. I do a lot of volunteer work. And just in the past couple of days, I have done something that I hate doing, but is cancel plans for me that I feel obligated to fulfill. Like if I've made a plan for like a volunteer position, but I'm learning that me just filling that space isn't always the best thing for me. And sometimes it's detrimental to my health. And it's taken me a lifetime to understand that. That's an example of letting go. I have set this expectation. I have volunteered my commitment, but sometimes I have to, for personal health, say like, I have to cancel. And
Mhm.
I felt like I was just betraying these people by, twice saying I can't do this when I said I could. But it was fundamentally like a really good thing that I said no, because I was able to do the things that all the other things that I had committed to. So you could just look at the Virgo house and see what are some areas that need editing away. And it doesn't have to be
Mhm.
permanent. Like my situation, it was just like, I can't physically be at all these places at all these times. So I have to let go of some of them. And it made for just a better existence for me and made me not resent my commitment to the larger group.
Mm. Yeah, I love that. And I think that that is a really succinct way to explain this lunar eclipse.
Thank you.
And this date, we're done with eclipse season, sort of. I mean,
Yeah.
there's still a new moon in Pisces to kind of deal with that's still connected to the themes of the nodes. But
Mm-hmm.
beyond that, we can sort of go, whew, we made
Until
it through eclipse
August.
season. Yes, exactly. All right. So what's next on the list? We got Sun trine Jupiter, which
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's always really nice. And I guess right around here, probably on the fourth, Venus sextiles Uranus. So these are good
Mm-hmm.
vibes. I mean,
Yeah.
it feels good. It feels like maybe some positive news, some positive things happening. The sun's in Pisces, so it's more of that Pisces Cancer trine that we're dealing with. But I think the big story is then Venus enters Aries
Yeah.
on Friday the 6th on Venus Day. And yeah, so the last time Venus was in Aries, it went retrograde with
Mm-hmm.
Mercury. And this is, a revisitation of that, but no Venus retrograde there. Thank goodness.
Yeah. She'll just run into Neptune and Saturn.
That's right. Right out immediately on Saturday. That is true. And then there's a Mercury Cazimi there. So let's take a look at the chart for that.
I was thinking,
Because
just in the sequence of, if you look at a planet, like a planet that moves around a lot, like the moon, maybe as an exception because it moves around all the signs in a month, but like a planet like Mercury or Venus or even Mars, sometimes it takes a long time for them to get to either their place of exaltation or home. And for Venus, she always has this really long stretch. Like when she leaves Libra, she has to go through Scorpio and then Sagittarius and then Capricorn and then Aquarius. And then finally she gets to her place of exaltation of Pisces. But from
mm,
Pisces, she just has this wild adventure through Aries and then she's back home again in Taurus. So I like the place that Aries holds for Venus's journey because she's exalted. And then she has this place where she's not really belonging, but it's kind of this fun, like, what's that what the Amish kids do? It's like Rumspringa. It's like
oh
they're like,
yeah.
it's like she has a little Rumspringa every time she's in Aries, and then she just goes home again in Taurus, and then she has this journey until she gets to Libra. It's like this really poppy, fun, fiery, like just really juicy sabbatical that she has in between Pisces and Taurus. And I know she's not at home there, but I was like, I like Venus's adventures in Aries. Like she rules the last decan. She doesn't really have any responsibilities. She's just there to have fun. It's like a girls'
Mm.
weekend, with like no kids, no husbands, but just like booze and weed and good food and like jet skis. I don't know. It's just like has this like really fun energy to it. Um, so like while she's there in Aries, I'm looking at it more in like a story form of just like she's just there to have fun, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. And Mars being in the place of her exaltation
Mm-hmm.
ruling, it's almost like they're in mutual reception. They're not, but um kind of,
Yeah.
it's really cool. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. The thing on Saturday with Venus, Neptune, and Venus Saturn, because they happen like 5:27 a.m. is Venus Neptune, and then 8:39 a.m. on Sunday the 8th is Venus Saturn.
Yeah.
So it's like this, it's holding that space all day,
Mm-hmm.
or for
I think
like two
all
days.
weekend. Yeah.
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 Yeah. And in the middle of it, we've got the Kazemi, so let's look at that because this Kazemi it almost like steals the show
Mm.
from the Venus, Neptune, Venus, Saturn.
So yeah, they're a minute apart, Venus and Neptune at that moment.
Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. So 5:01 a.m. If you're familiar with how we talk about Cazimis, we both love Mercury Cazimis, which just means Mercury's with the sun. And there's this, thing, you get a message from the king. I love that phrase for a
Mm-hmm.
Cazimi. And in Pisces, it's extremely intuitive. It's trine Jupiter.
Yep.
Um, it's less than a degree that's trine. And even the moon being in the water sign of Scorpio, we've got almost this grand trine. So while we've got this story of Venus, Neptune, Venus, Saturn, I don't know how noticeable, or at least maybe you usually look at Venus, Saturn as like this kind of moment.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm actually looking forward to seeing what it feels like almost
Yeah.
because, we've talked about this before too. Neptune's never been in Aries while we've been alive. Saturn has, but Saturn, Neptune co-present here, and then Venus hitting it. I'm interested to see what happens, how I feel, what I think, especially around the Cazimi, what intuitive hits I get, what ideas I come up with, and of course the commitments I might make because Neptune's so inspiration base, I
Mm-hmm.
guess. And then you have Venus, Neptune, and then it's almost like then it hits Saturn, like, okay, let's just do it.
Yeah.
Let's start it. This is a platform to jump off of. I'd rather look at it like that than, a wall, which it
Yeah,
might
because
be.
another thing I was considering is so Saturn's not at home in Aries, it's fallen in Aries. So it's like away from the place that it's exalted. And then Venus is not at home in Aries, it's exiled. So we have Saturn and Venus are like kind of refugees together. It in
Mm,
a way it kind of puts them on a playing field of, you know, I guess I'm not as concerned for Venus running into a fallen Saturn here because it's kind of like they're both without the tools that they usually use. So it's like, what can they create when they're given that inventive space with Neptune right there, that inspiring space of like, well, it's like improv. It's like, this is what you got to work with.
mm-hmm,
What can you make? And like have that beautiful, creative, watery place of Neptune. Um, not watery in the element, but just like the primordial waters of all creation and that springy all possibilities folly of Aries. I am excited for it. The moon and
mm-hmm,
Mars too are in that really tight trine, like having that emotional
mm-hmm.
flow, ruling, Mars is ruling that all that stuff in Aries. I just uh I like it. And also that Mercury Cazimi being connected to Jupiter, I see also this moment as speaking to the message that then Jupiter will carry when it goes direct in a couple of days. So, because Jupiter
Mm-hmm.
rules Pisces, Mercury is there in Pisces, getting that secret from the sun, like being a guest in the temple of the sun and receiving that enlightened message. And then that message being immediately transmitted to Jupiter and then Jupiter going direct. It's like
Mm-hmm.
that's like the phrase, whatever phrase comes to you on that Kazemi moment, like
Mm,
maybe write it down. What sort of fortune cookie phrase or insight or meditative inspiration comes through to you on that Kazemi? And does that phrase then have some meaning for when Jupiter goes forward on the 10th in your Cancer house? Does that phrase help you move forward through whatever has been a little stagnant or reflective or slowed down in the Cancer house? It's just like the message from Mercury being transmitted to Jupiter so that Jupiter can then take that message and then go forward. That's just kind of to me feels like what the flow
yeah.
might be.
Yeah, I agree. And that Mercury trine Jupiter happens exactly on Monday, March 9th.
Mm,
Actually, it's just after midnight. So, in the central US. So we're talking, you're getting that on Sunday, you're
yeah.
getting that trine. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this weekend. I think it's going to be, um, like you said, flow. There seems to
Mm-hmm.
be a lot of flow in all of this. And I think it's important to look at Aries, Pisces, and Cancer in
Mm-hmm.
your chart, and just see what the themes might be. Um, Yeah, I love that. So it looks good. It looks good.
I'm not
And
crazy about
then,
Mars getting close to the North Node. I know that's going to happen later, but
yeah,
it's like that's the one thing that's kind of like, what's that going to be like?
a voracious appetite for whatever that North Node is,
Yeah.
like that's kind of how I'm looking at it. And it's funny because it's in that's Pisces is my ninth house, and all of a sudden I've got all this travel
Mm.
coming up in March, and I haven't been able or had the means or the time or the space to travel a
Mm-hmm.
lot, and it's something that's really dear to me, just getting out. So part of the reason I live in Alabama, the cost of living is so low, so I'm able to travel and do all these
Mm-hmm.
things and visit, and then I haven't been able to. So I'm looking at that going, okay, and that stuff's starting to move in March when Mars is
Mm.
getting close to the North Node. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe some movement, and hopefully not any folly. you know, we'll see. But yeah, Jupiter goes direct right after Mercury trines it, transmits that message. So looking forward to all of that. That whole week, there's really not much happening, I guess, except for maybe Mars in the North Node. Yeah, that's going to be,
What is that?
when
I'm
does
gonna
it
look and
conjoin
see.
it? Yeah, North Node. It is the
13th.
13th, Friday. Our second Friday the 13th in a row. I love it. These months have been so weird. February 1st on a Sunday, March 1st
Mm-hmm.
on a Sunday, and it just like lines up like that. So yeah, two Friday the 13th in a row.
So that's
And
early. Is that early in the morning? When does it happen?
yeah, 1 a.m. here in Birmingham. So it's technically Thursday night on the West Coast, I guess, but Friday night for us at 8 degrees, which is also the Mercury direct degree. So I find that really pretty interesting that we have Mars North Node and then Mercury direct coming after that at that same degree.
What? So when I put up Astrogold, I have it at 5:58 p.m. my location. How does that work?
Do you have radix
No?
clicked? That's weird.
Yeah, that is weird.
I'm in 2026, right? What are you in 2026?
Mars conjunct North Node.
And you have transiting?
Yeah, 5:58 p.m. in my location, March 13th.
That's weird.
Yeah.
How does this is a very Piscean Mercury retrograde thing
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
already?
Yeah.
Let me go previous. Okay. The previous one, May 18th. This one, March 13th, 1:06 a.m. Central.
I'm gonna look at my like paper ephemeris and look and see. Because I was like March 13th, I'm going to be reading tarot and reading astrology charts that night at a market. It's called the Dark Market, and it's all cryptid based. So it's like a cryptid theme dark market, and I made little cryptid based tarot images to sell. And so like I'm looking at that date, but then like the time difference is screwing with me.
Yeah, when I changed to Asheville, it's 2:06 a.m. So that's
Yeah.
weird. Bizarre. Glitch in the matrix.
Well, I wonder. So is your node the mean node or the true node?
That may be what
Because
is going
that might
on
be what it
here.
is.
I want to say, where's my settings? I want to say I have it set to true. I usually do.
I'll have
Um,
to look and see that. Here's
oh
an
no, I have it
example.
set to mean. I have it set to mean. Usually I'm a true person, not a mean person. Let's see here. That's going to be the difference. So I guess I mean, good to know. It's on either side of it. Let's get back to zero Aries. All right. So
But
let's look at it again.
welcome to Mercury retrograde. This is pretty much like, wait, what?
Yeah, exactly. You're right. That was right on. So it's 4:58 p.m. for the true
For true
node.
node. Okay. And
Mm-hmm.
that's an
Yeah,
interesting thing. We have a friend who has her node straddles the Taurus Aries. So she either has a 0 degree North Node or a 29 0 degree Taurus North Node or a 29 degree Aries North Node.
that's
And
cool.
it's different if you look at the true or the mean. So again, like it's astrology, and like the house system you use and the type of astrologer you use, it is just tuning into channels. And it doesn't mean that there's
Mm-hmm.
only one specific channel that everybody on earth has to transmit. It's
Mm-hmm.
curious to like read your chart in different forms and different house systems. Um, because you can still glean, like you can still shine the prism of wisdom through the, you know, the jewel and the crystal of whatever shape astrology you practice. You can still
That's
get
right.
to an answer through that. It doesn't mean that, like, I remember pulling a horary and not switching it to Regiomontanus um uh house system, and it still worked. And somebody was like, I
Mm-hmm.
can't believe you did that in whole sign. I was like, I can't either, but it still got me to the answer. And that's the whole point, not to be technically correct, but to be like practically helpful, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just it's fascinating how
It
this
is.
works.
It's a good little insight too into how technical astrology can get because it is very precise and technical
Mm-hmm.
in most circumstances, you know. So yeah, the rest of that week, really, that's the big deal.
Yeah.
And then we've
Then
got
Mercury Mars, is that the next one?
looks like Mercury conjoined Mars and Pisces. I got my little evil emoji
Yeah, I was like, can you
because
explain that emoji?
it feels like scheming in Pisces, you
Mm,
know, especially with the nature of Mars in Pisces as well. There just seems to be a little like, let's scheme to do
mm-hmm.
something. Pisces as a archetype can sometimes be people trying to hide things, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I do think that, you know, having your eyes open around Mercury Mars conjunction is a good idea, you know, not like getting too wrapped up in something, you know, like all of a sudden you're in a cult you didn't mean to be, you
Yeah.
know. So
Don't join a
uh,
cult on March 15th. That's
exactly.
the Ides of March.
There you go. And that's another thing. It's a very appropriate transit to have on the Ides,
Mm-hmm.
I think, is the Mercury Mars conjunction. And I wanted to see, I was like, let me look at the Sabian symbol for 8 degrees of Pisces because if we go back to the chart, the Mercury Mars conjunction happens at 10 degrees, but then we're so close to the direct station.
Mm-hmm.
And because Mars and the North Node came together at 8 degrees, I was like, let me just see what that 8 degrees is on the Sabian symbol. So it's a jockey spurs his horse intent on outdistancing his rivals.
Hmm.
Um, which I really, you know, and then to have Mars North Node and then Mercury Mars, that's a really good picture for that, you know,
Mm-hmm.
just like
Yeah.
jockeying for the top spot, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
And
love
horses
that.
have that Jupiterian quality to them because they're related to Sag.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. So, like, to have that in the other Jupiter house of Pisces kind of works for me.
It does, and it's a fire horse year. So I mean, the
Yeah.
fact that there's I like this. It says um every superfluous weight, every unnecessary consideration is to be dismissed in this one-pointed attempt to reach a social goal.
Hmm.
Self-quickening can be the key word. I like
Oh,
that.
I
So
like self quickening for Mars, Mercury.
yeah, mobilization of energy and skill. I mean, and
Can you
I
read that
feel
again
that.
about the weights?
Yes,
What was the phrase?
every superfluous weight, every unnecessary consideration is to be dismissed in the one-pointed attempt to reach one's goal.
Yeah, so it's like, imagine like emotional baggage or like things that you care about that no one has asked you to care about, like clipping them from the saddlebags of the horse that you're riding so that you can run freer and make yourself like get ahead of the rest of the pack. Like just the
Mm-hmm.
releasing of that emotion, and so that you have that swiftness. I think that's brilliant.
It is, and you know, it's a Sunday, but it's a Sunday at 3:07 a.m. here. But going into the Monday, I think, you know, especially as we get well, Jupiter's direct
Mm-hmm.
right now. Mars is going to get closer to a trine with Jupiter. So there is a lot of like quickening, it feels like going
Yeah.
on.
Mercury's getting
Um,
close to the North Node, like that Monday. So
mhm, mhm. We're a month from the tax deadline. Oh, no, thanks. Yeah, so that's a really, I think, a neat one for mental acuity and things like that. And
Yeah.
then the new moon in Pisces is right there Wednesday on the 18th. Um, and Mercury direct on the 20th. So let's go look at that.
And I was just looking
All
to
right.
see. So Mercury will be with the North Node on St. Patrick's Day on the 17th.
Mm, that's a good one to look at. Because it just seems like something's happening every day when we start to get
Mm-hmm.
to this week,
Yeah.
like we've got things going and going and going. And it's funny because it is that new moon, like dark moon
Mm-hmm.
period that we're going into. So it is I think with the idea of Pisces and the idea of Mercury North Node, Mars North Node, Mercury Mars, Jupiter direct, all of that is crystallizing something here,
Mm-hmm.
especially in the Pisces Cancer area. And even Aries with the referral of Mars being the ruler,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
in Pisces. So it does. It feels like something is taking shape, taking form, maybe even in just your imagination around this new moon.
And look
Um,
how quick Venus is.
I know it is fast because
13
it goes
degrees.
into
She's already in that
Taurus.
square with Jupiter. Wow.
Yep, from the 17th to the 18th, Venus moves almost like it looks like 2 degrees
Uh-huh.
because
Yeah. She's speedy.
it's. Let's look. I want to see what the speed is. Points list. Here we go. Venus at this point, yeah, is moving 1 degree 14 minutes every day.
Wow.
Yeah, so a little more than a degree, and the moon's fast too at 13.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Everything else seems to be like here at this point, Mercury is moving
Is
minus
it
10
it's
minutes
stationing on the
stationing.
20th or something?
hmm
Yeah.
hmm so, and also Jupiter is only moving 1 minute a day at this
Mm-hmm.
point. So, because it's still very slow. But the new moon at 28 degrees, we're having these new moons at the later degrees.
Yeah.
Thank
It was like
goodness, not an eclipse.
Capricorn, Aquarius, and then was Sagittarius new moon, wasn't it?
I
At that 28th,
believe
was it?
so. Let's see. We
Maybe it
had
was.
Aquarius, 28 was Capricorn, Sag was
Oh wow.
28, Scorpio was 28,
God, how did I
Libra
miss
was
that?
28, and Virgo was 29.
Oh, that's right, because
So,
we had the 1 degree Virgo and then the 29 degree Virgo. Okay, that's what
mhm.
started us off. That's wild.
It is. And it's very similar to when we had all the 9 degrees last
Mm-hmm.
year.
Mm-hmm.
So the 28th degree is you're getting close to this idea of completion, I think. Um, but yeah, this new moon is really neat because Venus is square Jupiter, which
Mm-hmm.
I look at as
I like it.
I do too. I do too. Thank goodness. It feels like we need some hope and positivity and wins. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a good new moon. So it's a good one to also like kind of put your wishes out there. It's like
Yeah.
wish on a star, kind of a new moon. There's nothing negative here. But I
I
mean,
mean,
other than
there's
yeah,
Mars and Pisces that's sending a trine to Jupiter. So I like
it
that.
is.
Mars is separating from the North Node. So any sort of over inflammatory emotional things that Mars brings up in the North Node, I think it kind of wanes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there is a growing and contra antitia between Venus and Mars because they're like a degree away from having those opposite shadows. So that can be kind of like that kind of secret opposition between those two. So maybe it just creates tension, but the tension between Venus and Aries and Jupiter and Cancer, um, I like that kind of attention. I think it spurs creative response.
Mm-hmm. It's almost playful.
Yeah,
So yeah, I like that.
it is
Oh,
sextile
good.
Uranus though. That
It
new moon.
sure is. That is one thing I didn't think about when I okay, come on. Oh gosh, it's like 10 minutes or so. Look,
Mm-hmm.
you know. apart. That's very like pregnant with change, pregnant with
Mm-hmm.
the ability to shift something and
Yeah.
maybe surprises that are good. Yeah, especially because Venus is connecting to Jupiter like that. I love it.
I think this will kind of set us up for the equinox coming up in a few days. It's like that new
Mm-hmm.
moon, like, kind of decorates the table for then when we sit down to like celebrate on the 20th. Like the
Mm-hmm.
things that are kind of put in place at that new moon in Pisces feels like what we will continue when the sun goes into Aries. Um,
Which happens, like, yeah, on the 20th, and Mercury direct that same day.
yeah, later that day.
So that's a date that I'm looking forward to. I like my finger guns because that's what
Mm-hmm.
I was like, yeah, it's time to get moving. And Mars coming into the exact trine with Jupiter
Mm-hmm.
on Saturday. So let's look at that, the Mars trine Jupiter, because we'll also, I guess we could look at the equinox and just look get a little idea of what that's like because it is the spring point.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where Saturn and Neptune met, you know. So we've got Moon Venus as the sun enters Aries. That's
Mm-hmm.
really nice. And
There's so much in
Mars at
Aries.
14. I know. There's so much. Mars is within that degree of a trine. So so the equinox happens at 9:45 a.m. and then we've got Mercury going direct at 2:32 p.m. that same day.
Yeah.
So this is actually the date before we go play a gig down at the beach. So it's just funny to me because I know that my ninth house is Pisces travel.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the day before that, and I'm so excited about just getting out of town. And I'm
Yeah.
thinking about the equinox and how it might actually feel hopeful. There is the looming Sun Saturn conjunction,
Mm-hmm.
but I think, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I think because Neptune and Saturn are at those early degrees, and Saturn has moved fairly fast since it ingressed into Aries. I mean, it's at 4 degrees. But as soon as any planet comes into Aries, like when Venus did, and then when the Sun does, I think that we'll get a taste of that merging of Neptune and that merging of Saturn almost immediately. Definitely Neptune because it's so close. But yeah, that's all I just wanted to mention. There's so much in Aries, but it's just really the hue of Aries is tinted to that Neptune Saturn. Um, which I did a workshop with Magna Bagat. She does How Below
Love her.
Astrology, and she talked about the myth of Uranus and Gaia and Saturn and Neptune and Venus. And like her whole workshop was really because she was talking about this point, this Aries point with Neptune, Saturn conjoined. And this is where Aries, or the sun, at the beginning of Aries, the beginning of the zodiacal years at this point, that inception point is the birth of Venusian things because of the myth of Uranus and Gaia and Saturn. I mean, it's pretty violent and wild, but it's like Saturn throwing Uranus's genitals that he's cut off into the depths of Neptune. And from Uranus's severed genitals in the depths of Neptune is how Venus was born. It's like from this like crazy liberating moment, we get this gift of something beautiful to be born. And so that's kind of like the image of that myth, how crazy it is, but like how beautiful the silver linings that come out of hardship, that from when we're given parameters, we're given restrictions, but when we learn to break out of it, we get to birth something that is unique to ourselves,
Yeah.
which is kind of Aries, that is bold, which is Aries, which is beautiful, which is Venus. So it's like having Venus there when the sun comes in with Neptune and Saturn, it's like it's bringing in all that myth. And I think that's what the hope that you're catching is like. It feels
Mm.
hopeful because it's like in the realm of all possibilities, we know what we don't want anymore. We know what we don't like in our life, in our world, in our community, in our jobs, in our relationships, whatever it is. So what new thing can you be hopeful for? And what new reality can you start to spin so that you can birth that? Like, that's
Mm,
hopeful. That's like this is what I do want. I want this thing. And it's coming from the hardship of not having it or seeing it pass me by or whatever the reasons. This is the moment of hope when the sun comes in, especially to illuminate that point of Aries, be like, yes, this is the beautiful thing that I want to come out of all of this. So that's what I think you're catching, is that hope of all this planetary energies merging together. And Neptune is just like this soupy environment for all of them to merge, so that the when Venus floats out of the ocean on the foam on a on a half shell, it's like she floats out of
yeah.
that Neptunian abyss formed from the kind of the more difficult things. But like, we get that out of all of it. And I just think that that's really special.
Yeah, I agree. And I was also connecting it to how, because of the way you were talking about Venus, that actually, when Venus moves into Aries is when you can first see it in the sky. It's 15
Mm-hmm.
degrees away. I think 15 degrees is the from the sun to be able
Mm-hmm.
to see it
Yeah.
properly. So that means it becomes it's an evening star
Yes.
now,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's also just another that's associated with hope, is whenever you can
Mm-hmm.
see Venus in the sky again. So because I was like, ooh, that's right, Venus, you can see it. Yay.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be really cool too.
Yeah.
Yay. Hope. It
I'll
springs
take it.
eternal. All right. So yeah, we've got the Mercury direct. We've got the sun moving into Aries, and then Sun Neptune, but then it's womp womp womp. We got Sun Saturn, which I think on my little emojis it was just a tired emoji, which I totally feel.
Mm.
Um, and I do think that might be a thing. I've read people just, I think a lot of times when I'm doom scrolling, I'm not really doom scrolling. I'm looking at things people are saying and seeing how many people are saying this,
Mm-hmm.
what is the kind of the moment for the collective
Yeah.
that everyone's sort of, and I keep hearing people are just tired all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that could be a Saturn and Aries thing. I mean, Aries is action and movement, and Saturn is work and trying to structure your life. And it's hard work. And I think that might be, the 25th, if you have a busy day planned, it might be a good idea to try to get some sleep the night before,
Yeah.
good rest, because it does feel like it can be taxing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's just like when you have stress, like even just traveling, even if you're just sitting on a plane, you got to the airport, you sat on a plane for however many hours, and you got to your hotel. In theory, like, you didn't do much, but you can be really tired because your body is spending so much other forms of energy that it just tires you out. So that's kind of how I imagine Saturn and Aries is like, even if physically you're not doing really hard stuff, it's just taxing by nature. Um,
Mhm.
and one thing, so I'm building this guide to lead a Decan walk over on Substack. And one of the suggestions, the examples of how to do a Decan walk, because all a Decan walk is just observing the sun while it's in a 10-degree segment of the zodiac. So at the beginning of Aries, the first decan is ruled by Mars. And there's ways you can do it. You can just look at the tarot image that's associated with it, but you can do anything you want. One of the things that I suggested was, what's the collective conversation that you keep hearing during this 10-day period? Because that in itself will give you information, like what you said, like you'll scroll through and just see what's the collective thing that people are saying. It's like that gives you a vibe of that week, of that 10-day week, of like, this decan is speaking to people having this kind of conversation, because you'll see that in your own unrelated text threads with your family, with your friends, with your work colleagues, whatever. The same kind of thing will kind of be happening with everybody. That's just that mundane reality that we all live under the same sky. And that's a way that you can observe the decan, is just through, what do you see? What skims the surface from the above the fold headlines of everyone else around you? It's as a curious way to kind of get a vibe of the decan. And that first decan of Aries is the Two of Wands. It's like, what are we beginning?
Mm.
And having the sun and Saturn there, it's like, what are we beginning? We are so tired to even start it, but there's still that impetus of like, but I'm tired of this, so I want to make something new. I want to do something differently, so I'm not so tired. And the Saturn gives you that fortitude to just stick it through to the end. Um,
Yeah,
so I
it
think that
does.
it'll be exhausting, but it's kind of like, but I'm going to commit to it. Like it matters to
Hmm.
me to commit to it. And also with that Mars and Pisces, it's like another, I'm committing to it because I care about it, you know, even though I'm
Hmm.
tired, I'm still going to do it. So looking at a project or some sort of thing that you want to do that speaks to the area of life of Aries, particularly, I think that you can still stick it through by having that inception point of Saturn and the Sun together. But it's not an easy road, but it
Yeah.
has, you know, high risk, high reward. Like if you stick it through and honor that Saturn, you can get some really good mastered skill from dedicating and seeing it through to the end.
And even the moon, like an hour after, maybe not even an hour
Mm,
after the exact Sun Saturn conjunction squares it. So, yeah, I would agree. And I think that's just another way that it kind of um almost backs it up. It's like,
yeah.
yeah, I care about it. It may be tough, but here we are.
Mm-hmm.
And then on Saturday the 28th, Saturn sextiles Pluto. I am very interested in this. But I mean,
Oh, I haven't
yeah,
looked at this at all. That's funny that you put up there. I was like, oh yeah, I'm
yeah.
literally that emoji, like whatever that's going to be like.
I mean, why, because it does. Pluto likes to examine. I think Pluto
Mm-hmm.
plumbs the depths, and Saturn's in Aries. Um, and it's just an interesting. Let me look. Let's just
Well,
like get
Saturn
a
rules
little.
Aquarius, so it's like the ruler
Mm-hmm.
looking over there. Um,
Yep.
and I think of Pluto and the Sun as being kind of like mirror images of each other, like the underworld and the overworld. So it's
Oh yeah.
interesting that Saturn and the Sun conjoin, but then Saturn and Pluto sextile. So it's like it's pulling in the energy, that energy source of the Sun and Pluto to that Saturn. Maybe it needs it because it's fallen there. It doesn't have a lot of agency on its own. So it has to really borrow from the skill of those other planets around it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
cool little moment. I hadn't even looked at that one yet.
it is. And I think too, it's funny because this happens 5:11 p.m. Saturday the 28th, but the day before, even the moon is talking to
Yeah.
Pluto,
Mm-hmm.
so we've got this. it, it's it is a very I want to say, like, all of the planets are really talking to each other in a way that is productive. That's what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
So it does feel productive here. And Pluto is empowering. It can be disempowering, but usually when you realize you're disempowered, you go, oh, I need to empower myself here, So
Mm-hmm.
in that way, Pluto is both. It just kind of shows that power dynamic to you. So having these two areas in this opportunistic aspect, I think, is going to be pretty cool. I mean,
Yeah. And all the planets are direct, right?
yeah,
Wow.
at this point, every single planet's direct.
No
So,
excuses, y'all.
mm-mm. No, and it wouldn't surprise me if this was also war drums being kind of beat,
Mm-hmm.
because of the nature of Pluto and the nature of Aries, and the things we keep hearing in the collective.
Mm-hmm.
But usually that always changes in the collective and the government and all that stuff. It filters down to your own life in some way. So
Yeah.
it's just a moment when I think we can draw on Pluto to get stuff done.
Mm-hmm.
I
I like the
love
word
that.
examine for
Hmm.
because it's like it unearths things, but it doesn't just unearth it for other things, other planets to deal with it. It unearths it to examine it to kind of see what riches or you know, bacteria you've unearthed. It's like, what is it? You know, what does this mean? What am I supposed to do with this sort of a thing?
Hmm. I always say Pluto likes to flip over the rock and see what's under it,
Mm-hmm.
just like what
Yeah,
little creepy crawlies are hiding under there. So
that's me.
that's
I have Pluto aspect to my personality. I remember being in Texas and like teaching my son how to like correctly lift up rocks to find scorpions.
There you go.
There's a
It's
way to do
very,
it,
very
and it's
Pluto.
awesome, but you can't do it irresponsibly or you're going to get stung.
Very true. And I think that's what one of these moments is. It's like, I mean, it is kind of like that emoji, like, oh, kind of a thing. Um, and then, I mean, to lead us out of March is a really, really nice thing, which is
Mm.
Venus entering Taurus. Yay!
Yay.
That's so fun. We love it. We love Venus and Taurus.
I imagine this
Um,
is when like flowers are really going to be popping, you know? It's
yep.
just green and warm and it feels like spring and it just, you'll see pollinators and yeah, I love when Venus comes home in Taurus. I feel like
I
she
do too.
likes her Taurus home more than her Libra home, similar to how like I think Mars likes to be in Scorpio more than Aries. It's because Venus
Mm,
and Mars are the night sect planets, so they find that comfort in that receptive, gentle, feminine, dark place, as opposed to like I think Jupiter prefers to be in Sagittarius over Pisces because it's Jupiter is
hmm.
solar, it's louder in Sagittarius. So not that Venus doesn't belong in Libra, I just think like she's just like can really ease into her luxury and comfort and desire and laughter. And she just feels really yummy in Taurus.
I completely agree. And I love that this is also getting, first of all, Venus, once it gets into Taurus, is going to usher Uranus out of Taurus.
Mm-hmm.
I love that Venus is kind of holding Uranus's hand, like, get out of my house.
Yep.
I'm tired of this, you know.
Yep.
But it's going to sextile Jupiter too. So
Mm-hmm.
that's going to be really nice stuff coming up in April. I'm excited about that. And um, as we get into April, like April 2nd, I think is what Mercury trines Jupiter for the last time. So
Yeah.
really nice, sweet ending to the month. Mars is getting prepared. It's kind of like Mars is on its retreat before it has to, it's like they feed troops like really nice steak and lobster but when they're
All
about to make a
right.
war announcement,
Yeah.
it's kind of like that. Like
Just
Mars is
fattening
getting
you
its
up.
steak dinner.
Like Hansel and Gretel being like fattened up before the witch just decides to cook them.
Yeah.
Here you
Yeah,
go,
because the
Mars.
Mars Saturn conjunction is looming here.
Yeah,
What
when is
is
that
it?
happening?
Let's look because that's going to be
April 25th,
let's
April
see,
14th. What is the date?
19th.
19th.
Oh, that's right. It's Mercury, Saturn, Mars.
Oh, right. So we're going to hear about it.
Yeah.
But the sun's
Hmm.
at that anaretic degree.
Yeah. So that'll feature on our April
Mm-hmm.
forecast quite heavily, I'm pretty sure. Um, yeah,
Wow.
that's a thing. That's a real thing. Maybe we should look at our dates and see what
Oh,
we
yeah.
always like to pick the favorites and the ones that we're not really looking forward to. Um, I think I think my favorite is Venus moving into Taurus. I don't know
Mm,
how to. I mean, I love all the trines to Jupiter and things like that, but I'm just so looking forward to Venus and Taurus.
yeah. I think that's a close second. I'm gonna go new moon in Pisces. I like that
Mm,
chart and I like having Jupiter already direct because that's also a close second. Like I've been talking about Jupiter direct with a lot of clients because it feels like it keeps coming in. Like we've had Jupiter retrograde for 4 months and it's kept Jupiter there in exaltation longer, but the momentum of Jupiter direct and then that new moon, it's like the new moon, it really feels like it's the reciprocal point of the month of March that all the goodness I feel like might be pulled into that new moon chart. And it's the
mm,
first new moon in Pisces that we've had in a while that isn't attached to an eclipse because of its distance to the nodes. So it feels a little freer. And I think maybe I'm
mm.
appreciating that. My least favorite would be um I don't know, Sun Neptune over Sun Saturn. I'm Sun Neptune. I'm having a harder time with, and I can't
Hmm.
explain why. But between those two, they're kind of happening at the same time. So that week of the 22nd just feels a little. exhaustive. Aries is my 6th house. So it's like, is it going to be health issues? Is it going to be a work grind? Is it just going to be, all that stuff that the 6th house can just be like relentlessly exhaustive,
Mhm.
So I'm looking at it through my own chart, but also, it's just, yeah, Sun Saturn, that emoji is just spot on.
I know. Yeah, I think I agree. That whole week is just like meh.
Meh. Yeah.
Till Saturday. I think Saturday might be nice, but um, you know, I really am also looking forward to Mercury direct. Can't lie about that on the
Yep.
20th.
Yep.
Overall though, I feel like it's a other than maybe that week where the sun interacts with Saturn, even the Venus Saturn stuff doesn't really make me take too much pause.
Mm.
This week does, but overall I think it's a little bit of an easier month, a little more like we said, hopeful.
Mm-hmm.
It feels green, it feels
Yeah.
springtimey, and I, for one, am looking forward to it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think once we're out of the eclipse window, it might feel that because people listening to it on the front end it might be like hope, like, well, I'm supposed to feel hopeful about all this. I think that once the eclipse window passes, that we'll have a little bit more clarity. And with clarity, you can kind of orient and say, like, this is where I'm at. I may not like it, but this is at least I know where I'm at. And then I can know where to go from here. When we
Mm-hmm.
think about the Aries point, why is the Aries point a thing? Like that's the point in the sky that astronomers use to pin us down into the entire universe. So we use that to orient everything else, right? And that's kind of the theme of the hope of Aries season is like, even if I don't like or agree with what is happening in my life, if you have clarity about where to start, the first step is to just recognize what your situation is. That is orientation. Then you get to orient to
Mm-hmm.
wherever you want to go. And that in itself is kind of the definition of hope. It's like, hope springs eternal.
I agree. I love it. Well, that does it for
Thanks.
us, I guess,
Yeah.
for March. Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you for joining me and dragging me up the hill on these. I appreciate it. And I'm Mandi Rae of Ecstatic Astrology, and this is
I'm
Krista.
I'm Krista, Practical Astros, and an invitation to come join the Deccan Walk. It's on Substack. It's just called the Deccan Walk, and it's a free every 10-day email that's sent out that kind of just gives you some prompts and a guide to either learn how to do a Deccan Walk, learn the astrology, or learn tarot. But it's really just a community event that's going to happen for the whole year. And I'm really excited. I'm doing all these other things that kind of support it. But the problem with Substack is sometimes you subscribe to things and then you get a gazillion emails. I commit to only emailing you once every Deccan, so you're not going to get a ton of emails from me. But just as an event too, if you've never done a Deccan Walk before, but you want to learn tarot card, this is a great opportunity to do that. Or if you want to learn about your chart, it's a great opportunity. Deccan Walks are just these really sweet, mundane ways to learn astrology or tarot. So come on over.
Highly recommend. Highly recommend over here. Be awesome.
All right.
Well, thank you guys for joining us. Yeah. Thanks. We'll both say it at you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Like, share, subscribe. We'll be back for April.
Yeah.